So now that my meat is resting back in the refrigerator, it's time to talk about marinating, injection, or dry rubs. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these things and what we're going to do today. Marinating, for the purposes of my demo today, in my own personal taste, I'm not going to marinate my brisket in anything today. I tend to do that more with my seafood and chicken. However, if you were to marinate, there's a couple of things that you should probably know. Marinades are generally can come in packets like this that you would add water or juice to, maybe a little bit of oil, or maybe something that's already pre-done here. There's a couple things to know about that. The higher the citrus count, in other words, if it's based in lemon juice or vinegar or orange juice, don't try to marinate your meat for more than about 12 hours. The higher the acidic content of your marinade, it tends to break down the meat, and right around hour 10 to hour 12, the meat is really going to start losing its flavor. But again, this is only for the meat that comes into contact, generally the surface of the marinade here. So if you want to go ahead and marinate something in a citrus, go ahead and do it for 6 to 8 hours. Anything over that, I think you're starting to get into the yellow zone. If you want to go for a different type of a marinade, maybe something that's lower in the acidity content, or maybe no acid at all, you can go ahead and marinate your meat for upwards of 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator. And just make sure that you turn the meat over at least twice a day so that everything gets turned, your beef brisket is marinated evenly on both sides. The next thing is injection, and I'm not going to inject today either, but here we have a specially made injection for beef or for grilling. You see the large needle, and I have some sauce that's already pre-done. You can also make up your own sauce. A lot of these things, again, are acidic in their base, whether it's vinegar or another ounce of liquid for every pound of meat. So today, since I have roughly a 6.5 pound brisket, I would be somewhere between 3 and 3.5 ounces of injection liquid here. And the key is to stick the injector in slowly, inject slowly, and pull out slowly, and you make sure that you do it in even increments so that it's distributed evenly throughout the meat. You obviously don't want to force it in by squeezing really hard, and you also don't want to concentrate in one area and neglect another area here. But next, you can do just traditional salt and pepper. I personally am totally against iodized processed table salt or granulated table pepper. I always try to use fresh peppercorn. The reason being, it just tastes so much better. You want to use a pepper mill, and this one's a nice one, even though it looks a little old. It's a porcelain top here that you can change the coarseness of. And what's nice about that, your pepper's always going to be fresh. You're going to get that really good aromatic smell, and if there's any oils in it, you're going to release some of that oils. Also, for my salt here, I've got kosher salt, generally sea salt. It's a thicker crystal. If you could say that salt is organic, this would probably be the best bet. Should be good for all your grilling needs. Here, this is what professional chefs use. They want to use kosher salt, sea salt. Some of them are already infused with flavoring, such as a smoky sea salt, but since we're already smoking our meat anyway, we're not going to do that. Last but not least is dry rubs. And here I've got two different devices here. This is a stone, pestle, and mortar. If you had your own spices and you wanted to mill your own recipe, or you found a recipe on the internet or someone mailed it to you, go ahead and use your fresh spices, and you would go ahead and mix it up here, and it would really release the aromas and the oils. And obviously the kind that you buy in the store that are already pre-packaged, If the seal's broke, or even if it's not broke, remember, spices on the shelf, they do have a shelf life, and over time they're going to go stale, they're going to go bad. In some cases, it might even be rancid or lose all their flavor. So to me, if you get the chance to do it, always try to grind your own spices. Now, if this looks like too much work for you, you can also go the other route, which is like a coffee grinder. Well, this is my own personal coffee grinder, but inside you could go ahead and put your spices, your cumin, your pepper, your rosemary, whatever, and go ahead, plug it in and push it. It's kind of like a small food processor. It's really quick, but here's the thing: you don't want to cross-contaminate it if you're using it also for coffee. So go ahead and buy a second one of these. They're relatively easy to clean up. When you're done, I've seen people use a trick. They take pieces of stale bread or day-old bread and put it in there, little pieces, and then pump it down, and that cleans it up. Otherwise, go ahead and wipe it down yourself. Since I want to save time and move on with all this, I'm going to go right to pre-packaged stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with pre-packaged rubs at all. It's all a matter of taste and personal preference. But two things I would suggest: know your audience, who you're going to be serving to, and number two, know what kind of dishes you're also going to serve. Meaning, if you're from deep south, you might like Cajun flavors, you might like something a lot more spicier, whereas somebody in the north might not like something as spicy, so you might want to find the one that's a little low on the chili peppers or the heat content. Also, like I said, know your side dishes. There's some great rubs out there with curry, but it doesn't make any sense to do a curried beef brisket if you're going to be serving American food and not East Indian or Middle Eastern food. So definitely you're going to want to pair your type of dry rub to what your side dishes are and who your audience is. In this case here, I'm using just an all-around blend here. I'm going to apply it very liberally to both sides of the meat, and I'm going to then wrap it up in saran wrap and go ahead and place back in the refrigerator overnight. Now, you can do a combination of these things actually too. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and start with a little salt and pepper. Then you can go ahead and inject your meat and then finish off with the rub. There's nothing wrong, there's really no wrong way of doing anything here. Just make sure that, again, your spices are fresh, that you use a liberal amount, and that you know your audience. And from there, today, like I said, I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to use the injection. I'm not going to use salt and pepper. I'm not going to use a marinade. I'm just going for a traditional dry rub that's already pre-packaged. And the nice thing about smoking too is that not only the smoking flavor is going to accentuate some of this of the beef brisket, and we're going to do some other tricks later on that I'm going to show you how to get some more flavor out of your beef brisket, in addition to not only the wood chips that we're going to use, but our rub as well.